Has to do with managing and deploying Azure resources. Okay, this again is going to be more or less a reminder of what we have already gone through. Okay, so we're going to introduce some of the tools that manage and deploy Azure resources. We talked about the graphical user interface, point and click, drag and drop, all those kind of fun stuff that you see visually and can actually see some colorful, presentable things. That is all done on Azure Portal, which we've been using multiple times. In an alternate to that, if you don't want to use Azure Portal, what most developers, most IT admins, and other IT professionals use is the command line. So the command line also helps you set up automation, which we'll talk about shortly. You can learn some scripting tools. It will help you deploy, configure, and have to run this in an automated fashion. But at the end of the day, we'll also see how we can help manage on-premises, multi-cloud, and different non-Azure environments. All right. So once again, let's check out what are some of the goals we need to achieve. We need to describe what Azure Portal is. I'm pretty sure by now everybody already knows that. We also need to talk about Azure Cloud Shell. Azure Cloud Shell is made up of two things: Azure CLI, which is for bash processes, born again shell, and Azure PowerShell, which is for PowerShell commandlets. Okay. At the end of the day, you have Azure Arc, which actually can use to manage both Azure multi-cloud or on-premises, even stuff on the edge. All right. Finally, we'll talk about how Azure Resource Manager works in tandem with everything else, and how you can set up templates to do what you need to do. Now, let's dive in. Azure Portal is one-stop web solution, right? Where you can do all your Azure services and subscriptions. There, you can create your resources, maybe build a website, get your databases set up, deploy it, even containers, and have Kubernetes manage it. After you create it, you can decide to adjust the custom parameters, right? And then you grant access to your users, role-based access on an Active Directory. Now you can plan and execute as you need. Now everybody can decide to make a personalized portal. Set up your dashboards, how you want to do it, and then you can even start your services or stop your services depending on when you need to. You can add, remove resources to your services based on your business, deploy and monitor it, as we just talked about monitoring, look at the status, analyze the performance, and then you can even go ahead and deploy and do analysis as needed. So what does Azure Portal do? It's like a gateway. Manage your resources, create your resources, configure it, whether it's on your cell phone, on your tablet, in whichever environment, because it is web-based. So again, it uses that GUI to manage all your resources in a nutshell. So feel free to play around with it all the time. That's it. What is a Cloud Shell? Cloud Shell, as you can see right here, denoted with this arrow, the greater than arrow and the underscore, actually is a web-based browser, okay? But it's a tool that you use to also manage and create your resources. At the end of the day, it's made up of two things: the command line interface that uses a bash shell and the command line interface that uses PowerShell. Both of these are command line interfaces, which is separate from the graphical user interface we just talked about with Azure Portal. Now, some of the features that make this Cloud Shell very useful is you have the choice to choose between bash or PowerShell. Bash is the command line that is mostly popular with Linux and Mac operating systems. Meanwhile, PowerShell, before, it was really popular with Windows, but now it's been made cosmopolitan, so you can use it on any operating system. Another good thing is, normally, if you had to install it, you have to be able to request access and so on and so forth, but your Azure credentials are actually tied in with you using the Cloud Shell. So if I go in and click on the link to open the Cloud Shell, it knows that I am the one that logged in. It's going to use my credentials, and it will know what I have access to and what I do not have access to. Okay. And because it's browser-based, it means even if I'm traveling from work, I'm out of work, as long as I have a browser on my cell phone, I can open up the website if I have access. If I'm connected to a VPN, maybe to the cloud on Azure, I should be able to click on that Cloud Shell and access whatever piece of code. If I know what I need to type in to launch or check on my resources, I should be able to easily do that. Okay, meaning it's going to work on any device, be it a desktop, a tablet, or a mobile phone, and you don't need to install anything locally. All right. Now, PowerShell, like I said, has the Bash command line interface and PowerShell. With PowerShell, again, developers, DevOps, and IT professionals use it to run commands. Those commands are known as command lines. We think you have CMD. Normally, when you go on your computer, if it's a Windows computer and type in CMD, it takes you to the command line. The command lines are just commands that perform a specific task. You can run them to get each individual task to execute. For instance, get the date, or you can combine them to get a script, which is just going to go in a logical, chronological order, I should say. So, for instance, check the date, send an email to this person, create a virtual machine, give it add it to a network, give it an endpoint, make it secure, and all whatnot. You can write a script that does each one of those things, or a command that does each one of those things. Save it in a file, execute that script, and then you pretty much automate the process. Okay. So it's very similar as well with Bash. The only difference is that Bash uses Bash commands. Okay, Azure PowerShell uses commandlets. But at the end of the day, both of them you use to orchestrate a setup. That means you're building up a system, or use it to tear down a system if you need to, clean everything up on your virtual machine or whichever resource because you're done testing or for whatever purpose. Or if you need to do maintenance, all of that can be done for one resource or multiple resources. It's usually a good idea to have a template or to create one with parameters so you can plug and play. You can update the parameters to make it work on anything else. For instance, if I need to start a virtual machine of a particular capacity and so on and so forth, I can use the command, plug in the parameters, and it's going to execute just fine. So what does that help us with? It helps us have repetitive tasks, or we can have tasks that are repeatable, if that's a word. And that ends up automating our process, saves time, reduces human interaction, and reduces the room for error. So again, at the end of the day, you might decide to install it, configure it on a separate operating system if you don't want to use web portal to get to your Azure shell. That said, let's jump into Azure Arc. Azure Arc is new, but it utilizes ARM, which we haven't talked about. We'll talk about next. So it's more or less giving you some kind of extension to Azure to be able to manage not just Azure, but also manage a hybrid environment. What's a hybrid environment? We did mention there's private cloud and there's public cloud. Private cloud, you have just the infrastructure that's on your premises. You take care of, physically keeping track and for the safety, security, and everything. So all of that, again, you could also have on premises and also be working with Azure or any other cloud provider for the matter. So that makes it hybrid. Multi-cloud, again, is when you're connecting to, say, Azure, as well as Amazon Web Services, as well as Google Cloud Platform, Alibaba, IBM Cloud, all those different cloud services. You can be able to manage all your resources on them using Arc. So that's what Arc is very important for. It's important for you to be able to manage multi-cloud. It helps you to also manage data services, on-premises or management services, whatever you have on there. Any hardware can be managed using Azure Arc. And you can also use it for Internet of Things, all this Alexa kind of stuff and so on, anything that's on the edge network. So it's a one-stop shop, simplifies governance and management, and it helps you stay consistent with your on-premises and multi-cloud management platform. So it's not just pertinent or useful in Azure. You can also use it to manage outside services outside Azure, like servers or Kubernetes clusters. Kubernetes, we haven't talked much about it because it has to do with containers. Okay, we did talk about what containers were: self-sustainable applications that can easily scale in, out, up, down, depending on the need. Because instead of us having virtual machines where a virtual machine comes with an operating system, you can have 10 virtual machines with 10 operating systems. It's easier for you to have a container because a container just has all the libraries and all the different files or services that you need to run the application without the operating system. So you can have one operating system and 10 containers on it, just like having a ship with 10 different containers sailing to separate ports and just distributing them, rather than having one ship with one container that sails and you having a wastage of resources. Now, Kubernetes, though, is an orchestrator. So Kubernetes is what's going to be able to orchestrate or organize and create and so on all these clusters, or should I say all these Dockers, or in this case containers. So how does it do that? It's also looked at like a captain of a ship. So each container is going to be able to say, okay, check on this container, create more instances, reduce more instances to match the request that's going there. So that's something you can use Arc to work with your Kubernetes services. So Kubernetes is written K8S for short form Kit, mostly because it has 8 characters between, oops, oh no, I just denied someone entry, too bad. Mostly because it has 8 characters between K and S. So it's short form for that. But Kubernetes is a Greek word for captain. Okay, the helmsman, whoever is captaining a ship. That's why if you look at the logo has one of those I don't know how to call it, a helmsman's icon. So yeah, Azure Data Services as well, as you can see, is data that's off premises. You can also manage that, and you should be able to get your stuff set up correctly. But that's about it for that. Virtual machines is still in preview, but yeah, that's what Arc does for you. At the end of the day, let's talk about Azure Resource Manager. So Azure Resource Manager is, I like to look at it as a backbone, okay? Everything you do on Azure goes to the Resource Manager. So whatever you're deploying, whatever you're managing, whatever you're creating, updating, or deleting has to go through Azure Resource Manager, regardless of what you're using. If you're using the Azure portal, it's tied into the Azure Resource Manager. You can use the Azure portal to create a resource. It's going to have to piggyback on that. If you're using Azure PowerShell or Azure CLI, which uses a software development kit, those are all talking back to Azure Manager to be able to create a data store or create a web app or create a virtual machine, whatever other services you create, there has to go through Azure's Resource Manager. REST clients, REST is an API. If you're going to have other things talking into Azure, they're going to use that REST API to be able to get to the Resource Manager. And your authentication, very important, your authentication also goes through the Resource Manager. So there are some benefits again. I think I missed out on that on here. There are a lot of benefits for you to use the Resource Manager. Again, it helps you it helps you manage your infrastructure through declarative templates. You can deploy, manage, and monitor everything, for your solution or as a group rather than handling individual resources. And in some cases, you can just redeploy a solution through a software development lifecycle, but you want to make sure that it remains consistent. You can define dependencies too, say, hey, this resource depends on that. You can apply your access control. As you can see, the authentication is tied in to the Azure Resource Manager. So use role-based access, which natively does that. You can apply tags, tags like we mentioned, I think yesterday. You can use the tags to help you logically organize your subscription and so on and so forth. So it helps you have some kind of clarity for your organization's billing and viewing and so on. But for ARM templates, this is more or less what is known as infrastructure as code. So it's a concept where you have to manage your infrastructure by using lines of code. So you can use either the Azure CLI or the PowerShell, to write some code to deploy an infrastructure. Okay. So by using those templates, you can describe a resource how you want it, but you're going to be using a format known as JSON. I don't know if we talked about that yet. JSON, which is JavaScript object notation. So it's similar to having particular keys and value pairs. So you can say, okay, for this VM name, I want the name to be this. For this VM capacity, I want it to be that, and so on. So you write that in a JSON format. I'll show you some of that later on. But there's a lot of benefits too in using the ARM templates because your results are repeatable. You can have a syntax that's declarative. You have simple one files for each thing. So you have modular files so that you can break your templates into smaller reusable components, maybe a component for the VM stack, another component for the database stack, and so on and so forth. And you can extend it. You can have a deployment script that you can add to PowerShell and also extend the ability to set up during deployments. A script can be included in your template and you can use it as you need it. So JSON is a declarative syntax, and it might be challenging to use it at first, but once you get used to it, especially if you're working in a DevOps environment, you'll be very comfortable looking at it easily and understanding. An alternative for JSON is YAML, Y-A-M-L. YAML, another markup language, but we're not going to talk about that this week. It's not important for our assessment. It's not important for this exam. But when we start moving towards administration, as well as moving towards DevOps and solutions architect, we'll look at those. All right. So I believe that's it for the day. We've been able to talk about all what we needed to do today. The three main things we had to look at for monitoring, we had to look at Azure Advisor, which is like a wizard that gives you some recommendations. You looked at Azure Health, Azure Service Health. You're looking at the entire Azure Health, or looking at a service or region health, or also looking at particular resources health. And finally, we talked about Azure Monitor, which includes the log analytics, monitor alerts, as well as application insights. Now we moved and talked about how to manage our resources. We could manage it on a web portal using Azure Portal, or the web browser using Azure Portal. We could also manage it using Cloud Shell, which has two options for us, PowerShell or Azure CLI. Azure CLI uses Bash, Born Again Shell. All of those are just shell. Again, we talked about kernels and shells in the previous lecture, where we said the hardware, in this case, our physical data centers, actually work with an operating system, and the operating system is made up of the kernel and the shell. The kernel talks directly with the data, with the hardware. The shell gives us direct access to the kernel and then the hardware. But what we use outside the operating system is particular software. Okay, it could be utility software, it could be application software, and so on. But instead of using our software to send in the commands, we go directly to the shell to send the commands. And we talked about Azure Arc. Azure Arc is the very powerful way of monitoring, also having our governance and compliance worked on site, on premises, on the cloud, in one cloud, in both cloud, and on premises where you have a hybrid situation, or in a multi-cloud where you have multiple cloud providers. Azure ARM is where everything goes through for us to create, update, or delete any resources. And we can use Azure ARM templates, which use some kind of JSON format to be able to have all these benefits of extensibility and repetition or repetitiveness and so on. But that's about it for our content today. What questions do you have before I think we are done for the day?